Major League Baseball fans everywhere have one wish, and that is to have Mike Trout healthy for an entire season. Widely regarded as the greatest player of his generation. No one even came close, really, and Mike Trout just hasn't been able to stay on the field and healthy, but he's moved positions, and the Angels are doing whatever they can to keep him in the lineup, so I'll break that down and much more on this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Welcome in, everybody, to 3 Up, 3 Down. I'm your host, Peter Vrionis, and I want to break down a couple of things today. So, first off, I am a Toronto Blue Jay fan, so I want to talk a little bit of Bichette, who I believe has been the best player thus far for the Jays in spring training. But first off, I want to speak about Mike Trout, who is one of my favorite players and just an out-of-this-world level talent who I want to see stay healthy. And more than anything, I want to see him stay on the field and just contribute the way that I know he can, because he's only 33 years old, but he has dealt with some severe injuries and hasn't played a full season in what feels like forever. So if Mike Trout can stay healthy and in the lineup, I mean, he's going to be an MVP candidate. That's how good he is. But he only played 29 games last year, and we need to see more of him because it's just overall better for the game of baseball. But before we get into that, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. A large percentage of you who are watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so it'd mean the world to me. But guys, let's get into it. And Mike Trout is definitely that level of talent, similar to a Ronald Acuna, where the game just wasn't the same without him last year. They're must-watch TV. You want to see them, and you want to see what kind of fireworks they have in store for you. So, I placed a bet on Mike Trout last year to win the American League MVP. He started off like a house on fire, but only managed to play in 29 games. So I still think he's got a lot of baseball left in him. And I mentioned the position change right off the top. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's still got a lot left in him if he can stay on the field, but he's moving over to right field as opposed to playing center field, so a lot less physically demanding, similar to what the Blue Jays did with George Springer, moving him from center to right field after his inability to stay in the lineup as well. So Springer has benefited from that. He's played in most of the games, not to a high level, but he's not the talent that Mike Trout is. So if we look at George Springer, when he did make that move over to right field, I mean, he's played 154 games in 2023 and then 145 last season. So a guy whose big knock was not being able to stay healthy was able to stay healthy with that positional change. So maybe that's something that can significantly benefit Mike Trout as well. Now, I had to sneak in some Toronto Blue Jays talk here as Bichette. Now, those of you that know me know that I'm not the biggest Bichette guy on the planet, but I can acknowledge that he is one of the more consistent contact hitters in the game of baseball today. And when he's healthy, I mean, he's a walking 800 OPS with near 300 average. That is going to be at the top, if not near the top, of the hit leaderboard in the American League. So he's consistent. I mean, his ceiling isn't necessarily the highest, but his floor is definitely one of the highest in Major League Baseball. So the way that he's been performing and him being back and healthy, that is a massive W for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I say this because he had definitely his worst season of his career last year, injury-wise and performance-wise. So to have him back at full strength is a off-season addition in itself. I mean, he was a negative player last year for the Jays, a 70 OPS plus. He was, one of the worst qualified guys in baseball, but that's because he just couldn't stay on the field. Now him being back and healthy, I mean, that's one of the better hitters in the American League that you are getting into your lineup. So massive development for the Toronto Blue Jays. He looks healthy. The contact is loud. Everything looks good, and he looks like the Bichette of old, which is a very welcome sight for Toronto Blue Jay fans everywhere. Now, the question begs, are the Toronto Blue Jays going to re-sign one of Bichette or Vladimir Guerrero Jr., or even both. I'm not holding my breath for either of those things to happen. But, man, the Jays are in a tough spot, and this really feels like the year that they have to get it done. Now, do they have enough in the American League? I don't know. That's a good question that I don't have the answer to. We're going to have to let the season play itself out here, but having Bichette healthy, that is definitely step number one in getting back to where you want to be, which is the playoffs and hopefully a more competitive team once you actually do get in. But yeah, the Jays' outlook for future years looks pretty bleak if they can't get something done this season. And a lot of that success is dependent on Vladdy and Bo having monster years before they actually hit free agency at the end of this season. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of 3 Up, 3 Down. Thank you all so much for making it this far. Appreciate all the support. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. And make sure to check out baseballtown.ca. They're your one-stop shop for everything that you need baseball or softball related, whether it's cleats, gloves, batting gloves, bats. They got you covered. The best equipment at the most competitive prices. So check them out today. Baseballtown.ca or any of the 3 locations in Laval, St. Hubert, or Ottawa, Canada.